Sonic the Hedgehog has had some serious highs and undeniable lows during his time. For every Sonic Adventure 2, there's a Sonic Forces. For every Sonic Mania, there's a Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Sometimes it's hard being a Sonic fan, as you never know whether the next release is going to be a Sonic Generations or a Sonic 06. But you know what never disappoints? Sonic's music. This past weekend, I drove down to San Diego to attend the Sonic Symphony concert, and boy howdy, was it incredible. I didn't quite know what to expect when I bought the tickets 6 months ago. I just assumed it would be a fun, symphonic rendition of Sonic's greatest hits. And it is exactly that, but it is also so much more. Before the show even started, it was clear that the crowd was hyped. I got to meet a bunch of other Sonic fans, defending our favorite games, lamenting the disappointing ones, and sharing our hopes for the future of the franchise. A ton of people even went the extra mile, dressed as Sonic, Robotnik, Shadow, and a ton of other super obscure characters. I've played nearly every single Sonic release, and even I couldn't place a bunch of the deeper cut cosplay. The energy leading up to the show was palpable. Upon entering the theater, you're greeted with a giant screen displaying a countdown timer. Once I had gotten settled in my seat and the timer started ticking down, the roar of the crowd counting down to showtime really blew my mind. I mean, I knew this was going to be a lot of fun, but holy shit, the level of excitement in that theater was off the charts. The only comparable show I've seen with an audience as excited was when Paul McCartney sang Hey Jude at Coachella. Then the show began, and what followed was perhaps the most joyous performance I've ever seen. They opened with remixed melodies of the tracks from Sonic 1 and 2, synced up to gameplay being projected on the giant screen above. Not only was the music wonderful and deeply nostalgic, but I can't get over just how playful it was. Each track was synced with riffs from the gameplay, such as when Sonic gets hit by unfair enemy placement or when he nearly dies underwater, with the music playfully accentuating each of these moments, and the crowd absolutely devoured it. The orchestral half continued on with great renditions of the music from Sonic Mania and Sonic Colors, both equally stunning, although slightly less nostalgic than the previous tracks. There was even a rendition of the Chow Garden theme from Sonic Adventure, which was one of the deepest cuts and a huge crowd pleaser. Although the standout piece was a combined rendition of Believe in Me and It Doesn't Matter, both tracks from Sonic Adventure 1. This piece was so beautifully performed and hit so many nostalgic feels that I can't possibly have been the only one tearing up in the crowd. After a brief 15-minute intermission, we were back in our seats and ready for more. This is where the show took a wild left turn. You see, Sonic Symphony isn't simply a symphony. It's also a full-blown rock show. Sonic music can be broken up into two categories: the chiptune earworms from the 2D era and the butt rock anthems from the 3D era. And Sonic Symphony is broken up just the same. When the show began again, none other than Jun Senoue himself appeared on stage, the producer of Sonic music since Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and one half of Crush 40, who performed many of the tracks from the 3D era, alongside his entire rock band. The audience stood up and the 3D era of Sonic began. The show opened with 3 heavy metal tracks from Sonic Frontiers, each one more bombastic than the last. I enjoyed all of these, but truthfully, they were a little hardcore for my taste, with a good amount of growling. I met a bunch of people that loved these tracks though, so this is a personal preference kind of thing. Sonic 06 is largely considered one of the worst Sonic the Hedgehog games, but the key track from that bummer outing, His World, is legendary. This was one of my favorite tracks from the entire night, simply because it did an excellent job blending the orchestra with the rock music. Unfortunately, a lot of the orchestral sound was lost during the second half of the show, because the amps for the guitars, bass, keyboard, vocals, and drums were tuned so high. Here, the orchestra was allowed to shine and blend seamlessly with the more bombastic sounds. What really amazed me was how nearly every game from Sonic's library was represented. We got Reach for the Stars from Sonic Colors, What I'm Made Of from Sonic Heroes, Endless Possibilities from Sonic Unleashed, and even 2 separate knuckle raps performed as a rap battle between different vocalists. Hell, even Shadow's solo outing got a song here. But what I really wasn't expecting was Night of the Wind from Sonic and the Black Knight, the Wii exclusive game that's not nearly as bad as everyone remembers it being. This track was simply incredible, and since has been on repeat on my Spotify. As the night was winding down, we finally got to the heavy hitters, the 2 songs that every Sonic fan knows and the obvious picks for the final tunes of the night, Escape from the City and Live and Learn. If you've played Sonic Adventure 2, you'll know these by heart. Escape from the City might be my favorite pairing of song and level in any game. These songs helped set the tone for Sonic going forward, and I'm not sure if the series would have maintained its consistent personality without bangers like these nailing the vibe. If I have any complaints, it's purely personal, but I feel like we missed two of the songs I was really looking forward to. Fist Bump from Sonic Forces, which was otherwise completely not represented, and Sonic Boom from Sonic CD, which I feel like is as iconic as any other song in Sonic's repertoire. I wish that the representation of songs from Sonic Frontiers was cut back a little bit so that we could have had songs like Fist Bump and Sonic Boom. Sonic Symphony was an absolute treat for a lifelong Sonic fan. If you have any love for this series, I cannot recommend this show highly enough. It's the greatest celebration of a franchise that I've ever seen, one of the best live shows I've ever seen, and I've already bought a ticket to see it again in September. I'm gonna give Sonic Symphony a 10 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching, and if you like this video, it would mean a lot if you liked and subscribed to the channel. So thanks again, and I'll see you next week.